What's up, Rockstars? Today I have the pleasure of telling you all of my opinions on Resident Evil, the board game. This will be on Kickstarter October 26th, 2021, so if you're looking for it, there is a link in the description below to that. But let's go ahead and actually just kind of get started. Now, as always, before I get into the nitty-gritty here, I want to thank my patrons for their financial support. It is through their financial support that this channel is possible. I bring you the videos that I do and cover the things that I cover because I can focus on what I enjoy and not some kind of algorithm or anything like that. And that's because this is a channel for the community. It's for you guys. Every video I make is for you. And if you appreciate that level of freedom that provides, that is only provided through the financial support of my patrons. So thank you so much to them. And if you want to join, there is a link down below to that as well. There's some great benefits there, of course, too. Now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and do a quick overview of how to play. Alright, we're just going to do a quick overview of the game. It won't take very long at all, actually. I just kind of go through just about everything that kind of actually takes effect in this game. It's actually not too bad. This is your main character board, and then this is their health. Obviously, you go from fine to caution to danger, don't die. Everybody has the same health there. And you can heal up with stuff like a first aid kit. So this is your starting equipment. So they start with a handgun, a knife, and some first aid spray, which you can see here. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then at 1 to 2 different kind of special abilities that only they have. For instance, she can start unlocking doors if anybody has the key. And if their special symbol is drawn at any time in the game, then everybody gets to heal up. So kind of a team player. That's who Jill is. This is your evade score, so if you're attacked, you get to roll that many die to try and evade. When you are evading an attack, you're just trying to get these different symbols here, these kind of swooshes, depending on how many enemies or the size of the enemy that you're attacking, or that is attacking you. Then you have your inventory size limit, essentially. In other words, how many cards you can have. And then how much kerosene you can take. There are some items, like the lighter here, that takes stuff like kerosene. And these are tokens you use to like burn corpses and stuff like that. And each player kind of has different value there as well. Moving on to the items. So take the knife, for example. It has infinite ammo and is a range of 1. You are going to roll 1 blue die when attacking. If you roll this symbol, you get to do a pushback. If you roll this symbol, you do 1 damage. So on here, you'll see that there is the damage, and then there's also these kind of push symbols. But this can be different depending on the weapon. I'll show that in a little bit. Meanwhile, your handgun here has a ammo of 15. So you have these little ammo dial that you move that, might have 15, 14. So you kind of spin the ammo to shoot it. It has a range of line of sight. So anywhere you can see, it can shoot. You're also rolling 1, doing a push on that and a damage on that. And this symbol here means that it's a rapid fire. So you can actually spend 3 ammo in 1 action to shoot and have 3 different, up to 3, 1, 2, or 3 different die. So that's kind of nice as well. There are other symbols for that as well. For instance, there is the shotgun here. So the shotgun has 6 ammo, a different dial for it. Its range is line of sight still as well. You're going to roll 2 for each attack. This symbol now does 1 damage. This symbol does 1 damage to everywhere, and it has a decapitate symbol, which just means that when you kill an enemy, like a regular zombie, he won't turn into a corpse token. He just simply dies. Okay, so now let's actually explain kind of the board state here. So you have a character here, and you can do 4 actions in your turn, including move, attack, trade, open and close doors, stuff like that. A move is just simply to 1 space, so that's 1 action. 2, 3, 4, if that's how you want to do it. So after you're done doing those 4 actions, there's a reaction phase, which is any enemy that's on your tile or any tile adjacent to your tile that's connected by an open door. So at the end of Jill's turn here, she does nothing. There will be nothing to reactivate. However, if she has this door open, these 2 would react and try to move towards her to attack her. So you kind of have to be conscious about everything around you, especially these doors are very important. Now, if she had actually already been over here, And let's say she wanted to get the item B. Now, we all know it's a shotgun, but you don't know that. Well, you can go into here, but anytime you end a move or do an action with a corpse token, you have to roll this 6-sided die. And if you land on the 1, the umbrella symbol, then that turns out to be a zombie. Not good. Now you have a zombie on your space. So she's going to have to roll it for moving on there and ending her move there. And then if she wants to loot it, she's going to have to roll again to loot the B. Now, at the end of your turn, after the reaction phase, you are going to draw a tension card. Here is an all clear, nothing bad happens. That's good. But they can get bad. So, for instance, you can get these orange ones. Not very good. Definitely want to keep track of, definitely want to avoid those. And then, of course, there are the really bad ones like this one. And now you have a crimson head. Good luck. So you will draw that at the end of each of your turns as well. When zombies do attack, like if they're in the same space here, they have a fairly similar board here. So they'll have their threat rank, how much they move, and how much health they have, and any special abilities. This one says that they turn to corpse tokens. They'll have a regular attack. This is an attack at range 0, does 1 damage. But they also have this special attack they can sometimes do at range 1, which is not good. So what is that special attack? Well, on these cards, let me grab the whole deck here, you will sometimes find that same symbol, or at least a symbol. So these symbols matter. So if this is the top card on the deck, then anytime something reacts and it has that symbol, it will use that symbol's attack instead of another one. So always be conscious of what is on display at the top of that discard pile. Very important. Now let's say it's time to explore. Let's say we've killed that guy, goodbye, and we want to explore. So we're going to go ahead and open that up and spawn. Well, what do we spawn? All of these. So what you'll do is you'll kind of line it up based off of, it'll be obvious on where it fits in. This is not the card for this, by the way. This one I grabbed. But either way, you'll kind of fit, okay, it fits this way. You'll grab this tile and this tile. Now, you'll see that there are other tiles you can see. So often you'll kind of get a hint at what's to come, perhaps through that door here. Obviously, there's a tile here. But this might spawn then more over here that you don't know about. So it's only going to show you the direct tile facing it. But as you can see, we would have seen this, but we would have never seen this tile here. So a little bit of exploration there. Now, one thing you'll notice is these kind of locked doors and stuff like this. So here you can see that there is actually a one-way door. So there are some doors you can only go through one way. And then there are locked doors where you actually need the key to be able to open the door. So you kind of be going around and trying to grab these keys and stuff like that. There's another thing that can sometimes happen, and that's you can get into a mission. So there is a mission token, and then when you go on that, you get the corresponding mission, and you flip it over, and you see what it's all about. And it says, okay, go get the mission. So you go get this mission. Here's one where you're kind of getting some radio chatter. Now, for the characters that are not playing currently, they're still doing things in the game. They are still off on their own adventure. And so what will happen is you'll pick one of the characters to go on the mission, and you will start flipping these cards over. And when you flip over the encounter cards here, you'll see different symbols up here. You're ignoring all of this and only looking at the symbol. So this is, some investigation clues, which is good. This is a damage. They can actually get hurt and die while going on these missions. Be careful. You might want to abandon it if it gets too bad. Here's another clue here. And so you just kind of go around and either complete the quest or abandon it, or they die. Here's that special symbol that we mentioned earlier. So that's kind of how they go about, and they do that, and different things happen based off of those missions. Now, when you do spawn, you're going to spawn that way too. So you'll spawn the tile, and then each tile will show. It'll either show directly, okay, there are enemies here and clues here, or items here and stuff like that, or you'll get one that actually has a ranking to it. Like this one here has a ranking to it. So that says draw one card. Some will have 1, some will have 2, and some will have 3. And that one, again, the encounter, you'll draw the card, and you'll read this part here. In this case, we're going to spawn one corpse. When you spawn something, you have little symbols on the board that you spawn enemies at. And if you can't avoid it, you aren't supposed to spawn something on the actual space that you are in, unless, of course, there are no more spots, in which case you do. Bad luck for you. And there are different ones. This one spawns one corpse and then has a little blurb on here on how all the corpses now turn into zombies when you're done. Or you might just have a different thing happen, like all unlocked doors, or you just spawn directly zombies, or, I mean, there's all kinds of different ones. Sometimes you even get lucky and there's nothing. So it just depends, a variety of things. But that typically happens only in the tile that you're in. So while you spawn multiple, like here, if this had a symbol here, you wouldn't actually spawn it until you actually enter into there. So you have no idea what's on the other side of that door, even if you know what room it is. That is pretty much everything. You now fairly know pretty well how to play Resident Evil. Okay, enough about how to play the darn game. Tell me if it's any good, KOA. Well, I will do just that. So the first thing I want to focus on, because there's quite a few, is the exploration. Now, before I get into anything further, before I talk about exploration, obviously this is a prototype. In fact, this is kind of a limited prototype. It's one of the ones where they don't quite have everything in there. So I'm only reviewing what I got. The exploration here is fantastic. It really was enticing in a way that I thought was very smartly put. So one of the things, for instance, that they did for that is these are the kind of cards that you get. So you have a door and it says, okay, that leads to 3. So you know 3 is somewhere on this, but you don't know what it is. Now you flip it over, and what you see, and you saw this during the actual kind of gameplay overview, is that it shows you the other tiles, but then some other tiles around it that kind of lead somewhere or do something, but you don't see it all. So you might see like this little L connector thing here, but you don't see the rest of the tiles that come with it, right? And so you kind of get this enticing feeling of, okay, this obviously goes to there, but then I don't know what else is involved there. And so you'll put down 2, 3, 4 tiles at a time. Sometimes even just one. It just depends. And that's really cool. And the map design, at least of what I've played, is also quite interesting. I've played 2 now. And with this one, what was really nice about it is there's this like one-way door. And so you know that you must come in from that way at some point. And you don't maybe not even have to, but all you're trying to do is get to this locked area here, which is such a Resident Evil thing anyway, right? Okay, so locked door, need to get inside of that locked door, but you don't have the key. So let's go search for the key. So you're going and you're searching. You can go this way, you can go that way. You can kind of change how the map is based off of if you go everywhere or not, because you don't always have to. But then we noticed that there's this big long connector, and now suddenly we can skip right back to there. It was kind of a Dark Souls kind of feeling, right? Where it's like, oh, we just opened the store and now we can go straight from the entrance to the exit kind of thing, which was also super cool. In addition, once we got a key, there was actually another door, a bonus door that we could open. And of course I had to open it, right? And then sure enough, a hunter's there, and a C grade item. So it's like, ooh, another shiny. Yes, I'll shoot you in the shotgun and get that. Shoot you with the shotgun, not in the shotgun. The exploration I thought was done very well with that. I really liked the very subtle but very effective way of showing a little bit of what's out around the area that you're spawning, that you're in, but not all of it. And so that was really nice, especially when you lay down a new one of these. Like, I believe it was either this one or the fourth one. There was one of the ones where like this door didn't exist when I first started, because when you started it was just here. And so that's all I had. But then as we expanded and more doors opened and more, we get to unlock a new area. There's a whole new area now that we'll be able to explore. And that was honestly both like cautious. You know, we talked about it. Do we want to go do that? Or do we just want to go backwards now? And of course I wanted to go forward. So that actually worked out really well. It really did. I really enjoyed the exploration. I liked the bonus rooms. I liked seeing extra areas. I liked the kind of Metroidvania kind of locked doors, one-way entrances and exits, and just that kind of stuff was really nice, and I really enjoyed it. it definitely enticed me to keep exploring and keep going to see what was next. And that's a really good thing. Now, as you're going around doing that, you're playing with these tension cards. And so, essentially, at the end of each of your turns, you draw a tension card and you read what it says. And it'll have an all clear, or it'll have a, like a kind of a yellow orange, or it'll even have possibly a red. So obviously those are bad. Even the greens, though, they have a little symbol down here that'll allow, or that makes enemies do a special attack. And that could affect not just you, too. So, as you're going around, and you know that when your turn ends, a card's going to be drawn. And, that's important because it's done after the activation of enemies. So if you're adjacent to a tile and there's another enemy and your buddy's back there, that dude's getting attacked because you ended your turn and didn't deal with that zombie. So the enemies are reacting in a very aggressive way, which I felt was quite fitting there. However, once you get to this step and you're drawing these are great, if I can hold them right. They really are. The vast majority of these all clear. They have a little blurb on them. There's about 6 or 7, 8-ish different blurbs on them. You will start getting repeats on your first playthrough, and so you stop reading them, which is kind of a bummer. I wish each one was unique at least, so you got at least one whole playthrough of brand new stuff that you never even heard of before, instead of that kind of stopping at the one. What's nice, though, is these items right here, these kind of orange and red ones. They do fantastic things, awesome things that I really enjoyed. Like there's one where essentially you like can't leave the tile. Like this literally happened to me. So like I was on one of the tiles and there was a corpse token and an item. Now when you go on a corpse, you have to roll this die. And if you roll the umbrella symbol, that corpse is actually zombie. It was just playing possum. It's going to jump up and attack you. Just like the video game. And so you're like, I don't know if I want to go there and risk that. However, there was also a door that was unexplored. Like, oh, I would really like to go to that door. But the card that was drawn said that if I left my tile, that I would spawn, essentially I would double up. I would draw 2 the next time. So dangerous to do, especially to my teammates. So what do? Do I just waste my turn and just say, okay, I'm just not going to do anything? Or do I say, I'm going to open the door anyway. I'm sure it'll be fine. And that, just like you do in the video game, and then, oh, it's not fine. Or do I maybe risk getting the item? So I wasn't going to, but then when I felt like I was stuck there, then I was like, well, maybe I will just go get the item and risk that. Though I'm the only one on that tile, and so I'd be alone if that zombie attacked me, and that's not a good place to be, especially starting out with your starting gear. So there are some really, really cool, opportunities. Another one adds a jump scare, just like in the game. So essentially, it says, pick out like the baddest mofo bad guy you got here. In this case, it would be the hunter, right? So if you got the hunter on the board anywhere, right? Maybe you locked him in a room, whatever. Take him, remove him, put him right next to you. In your tile, just kind of like, I'm back. We're kind of like a nemesis kind of thing, right? Where he just shows up randomly, like, how'd you get over here? Well, that can happen here as well. All the corpses can turn into zombies. There's all sorts of really interesting things that are happening because of this. And I really, really enjoy these. These tension cards were fantastic. They were really nice. Remove the closest corpse and replace it with a zombie. Surprise. It just really, really nice. Very, very cool. So I really enjoyed a lot of these. Definitely one of the highlights when I got those kind of special ones. So that was really cool. Now, I wish there were more interesting ones. So if I take out the interesting ones, in other words, the ones that do something, that's these. All of these do nothing. Now, I am totally fine with having a lot of all clears, a lot of green. But it can get to the point, especially like when we first started, and my other players, I'd already played this once before, had really kind of started to feel this where, you would just, it was pointless. Like you drew it and then nothing happened. 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 And you can do that like 6, 8 times in a row before you get one of these really cool, exciting cards. They're all bad, right? But it gets to the point where it's like, I would rather almost, I don't know. If I could change anything, I would have the green cards also for a lot of them at least actually do something as well. Now it doesn't necessarily have to be the greatest thing ever, but it has to be something kind of interesting, something that's worthwhile. You risk the same issue I had with Reichbusters and the Noise, where there was a mechanic that I did that only mattered sometimes. So why was I doing the mechanic every time? And so every single turn, draw that, all clear. Not even going to read it anymore. I've already read it 7 times this game, and then, all clear. All clear. All clear. Like after, if I have to do a mechanic 5 times, and this was worse than even 5 at times, and nothing happens, I feel like I'm wasting my time. Like, why am I flipping these cards? So I would like to see something interesting happen on these greens. And if it means that you have to add more bad ones to counteract that, I'm not the balancing guru here. I'm not crunching those numbers. I'm not the game designer. But I would really like to see more of interesting stuff. It doesn't have to be bad necessarily. But honestly, it could be. I would rather have a more difficult game, but have more interesting things happening than have it to where a lot of times just nothing's happening. So my personal preference there. I would like to see a lot more of them, because what they are amazing. They're so cool. There was another one I'm going to tell you about at the very end of the video. That was the highlight to me of perhaps this whole game. And I'll explain why at that time. So there's one I haven't mentioned. But suffice it to say, awesome cards. I just wish there was more. Now, one of the things that is very important to know is that this is very true to the IP. And I mean that as a great thing. I don't mean that in that it has bad voice acting. I see no references of Joel sandwiches anywhere. Okay, so there's not any of that kind of campiness. And instead, it's just kind of a really interesting semi-combat, semi-horror Resident Evil, which is exactly what Resident Evil is. But there's so many things that it's obvious they knew what to do. Like the moment I saw the lighter, literally my first game, I saw the lighter and I'm like, okay, I get it. You guys have played the game, right? Because you have these corpses that you can burn, but then you're like, okay, well, I'll just burn them all, except you're running low on kerosene, so you can't actually burn all the bodies. But then when you're on one of the corpses, I kind of mentioned this already, well, then there's actually it has possibility of jumping up and I know it's actually alive, right? So you're cautious around corpses, just like the game. This guy, he's here, he's locked up in this room because just like the game, we didn't want to waste the ammo on him. We had already we went in there to get the item and he's right on top of us, so we're trying to stab him with a knife and we push him away and we run out there and we lock the door. That's what you do in the game. You don't just fight and kill every single zombie. And it was really nice to be able to see these different things, see the exploration and the needing to get behind a locked door. The whole scenario was obviously an homage to the game, right? And I'm going to go through the one-way door and find the key somewhere else in the mansion. The mansion's like this labyrinth area, and it was just really nice. It was really cool to this is Resident Evil, the board game, if that makes any sense at all. It's not just a thin painting of an IP over a different game. This is a game for Resident Evil, and it feels like Resident Evil, and I really enjoyed that. I thought that was nice that they were paying that much attention. Now, another thing, and you guys know me. You guys, if you've been on this channel a lot, if you haven't, welcome, by the way, that I love streamlined games. I don't want 100 different mechanics all thrown in there that don't really flow well together. I'm big on game flow, to the point where I used to try to do reviews by showing the game being played in the background, because I felt if you see a game play, it's not just the mechanics, it's how the mechanics flow from one to the other. How rigid is it? Things where you have to grab different items and stuff like that. To interact with them that are separate from that, or they're just disjointed, and you can kind of feel that, right, in that flow. Not at all. This game taught really easily. My kids were able to play just fine, so I had a good time with them, which is awesome. Always a good board game night there. One action kind of leads to the next, and attacking is easy, defending is easy, determining defense needed is easy, line of sight is easy, spawning is easy, exploring is easy. All of this stuff just flows super well. And I thought that going on missions, again, same thing. There are some things I wish they actually added more to. Not that it's too streamlined. I just wish there was more that was streamlined. If that makes any sense, don't not streamline it. But there are some things I would like to see expanded. You'll hear about that during the course of this review. But overall, definitely a positive for me. I really enjoyed the general flow of things, and it just flowed smoothly. And it was really enjoyable and nice, and I like that. So, yeah, definitely my kind of game in that sense. It feels to me like one of those games that's very easy to get to the table, because the setup time is no problem at all, and then playing it and explaining it to the one new person is easy, and you can just get to having fun real quick, and that's always a positive in my mind. Now, I have another negative, but before I get to that, I have actually one more interesting positive that I doubt anybody else is going to mention. This is perhaps a little bit of me focusing too much on things. You guys know how this is. This is why these reviews are long, because I mention stuff like this. But I will say, when I noticed this, that was the aha moment for me. It really was. If you guys have been around a while and you saw my Solomon Kane review, you'll recall me talking about that moment in that game, where I was kind of playing the game, and it's a fine game, and it's all right. And then I get to a point where I'm like, so that's why you did that. You focused on this game so much that you even focused on that. Wow. This was another example of that. So, in many games, there can be some issues with determining line of sight and movement, especially angled and around corners. Can I angle out of a door? Can I angle into a door? Can I go around this corner, or can I not? And oftentimes it's confusing because the rules say you can't cross red lines. But the red line is the corner of the red line, right? This is the red line. Now we're going to swap to a picture now, and you'll see instantly, I think, what I'm trying to point out here. The white lines that you can travel over is actually broken up by one of the corners of the red. So it's guaranteed to, obviously, even if you didn't read the rule book, if I was to ask somebody, looking at that corner, do you think you can cross that corner? Everybody would say no. And that's not because it's written differently in the rules. It can still say you don't cross red lines. But the actual UI on the, like the actual game UI, like the lines and symbols and stuff like that, on the map actually tell you essentially, inherently, without having to do anything funny, no, you can't do that. That is a great sign, because that shows that these people know what they're doing, right? I mean, obviously. And I don't know if that's just because this is 3 games into it. I don't know if they're just that good. The game's not perfect. No game is perfect. But when I saw that, I really like, okay, they're really focusing on the gameplay here, on just making this easy to play. And so that's why I mentioned this right after the streamlining comment. I kind of order my pros and cons list to hopefully make a little bit of sense and make a natural progression. And then streamlining naturally progresses too. Even moving around on the map is easy because of little things like this. That's awesome. I love seeing that. So I get that it's some stupid little nitpicky thing that I noticed, but this is why you guys are here, I imagine. So there you go. I really enjoyed it though. That's awesome. I love seeing stuff like that. I really do. Great job. Whoever thought of that. Works well. Okay, too much positivity. Let's get some negativity in here. Starting out now, of course, I am only playing this starting area. I've only done 2 different ones. We both had that starting equipment each time, and the starting pistol and knife suck hard. For instance, I was playing this one with my son, and because we have a lot of father-son board game nights here lately, and he shot a zombie 8 times. Now, mind you, there's 15 bullets total, which means he shot almost half of his, over half of his magazine into the zombie. And on that 8th shot, pushed it back. So he pushed it back twice in those 8 shots. So you can kind of roll 3 at a time and all that. And the problem is that on the 6-sided die, only one of them does a damage. Which means you have a 1 in 6 chance on every single die roll every single time. When you roll 3, you have 3 1 in 6 chances. It doesn't necessarily increase it that much. Not enough, apparently. So he tends to be the kind of guy that, like, somehow rolls the same every time. Like, he doesn't jostle up enough, or like I don't know. It's like he picks it up and then rolls it and it lands right where it was, kind of thing. At least I've noticed that playing him, but maybe that's this bad Warhammer dice coming into my head brain there. But a 1 in 6 chance to do damage, and that's all your stuff. Like, your knife is the same way. It's just really kind of a crapshoot. And when I say crapshoot, I mean almost not worth it. Like, it just kind of sucks. Combat gets better. For instance, I got this freaking sweet shotgun that is awesome. But the starting equipment, that can be I can see why somebody wouldn't like it based off the starting equipment. Now, again, as soon as you're off that, I imagine it's good. I was looking at these red die here that they had. These red die are much better. They only have one blank, really. And the weapons obviously get better. So, for instance, the shotgun increases the amount of damage you can do, because these ones that push back for the, which there are 2 of them, push back on the handgun does the damage as a shotgun. In other words, 3 of the 6 now do damage for the shotgun, and you roll 2 each time without having to waste an extra bullet. So inherently better, like way better, right? Like, that's a huge jump from the craptastic handgun that barely does any damage ever to the shotgun that is like a powerhouse. But yeah, rolling 8 die, using up half your ammo, and not doing any damage. Not good. I would like to see, I don't know, I would like to see that either improved or you getting rid of it. If you recall Zombicide, like the first edition, right, where you started with like a frying pans and all that, and everybody joked about how like they were just not, you may as well not even attack something when you have those starting weapons. Get some better weapons. Literally anything you find is better. This is the same kind of thing, and it kind of reminded me of that. I remember playing that. It was my first game, actually. My first like real board game. And yeah, no, it was the same thing where it's just like, oh my gosh, this is like a terrible weapon. I would take anything than this. That's how I felt about the shotgun and knife. I would take anything but that. Dear God, help me. I don't want to shoot anything with a handgun again. It's just, you just use up so much ammo and so much of your action. Your whole turn can be shooting at a zombie and do nothing. It's a push it back, which just means I guess it doesn't hit you yet. But it's this kind of infinite, no. No, so I haven't killed you, but you haven't hit me yet. Kind of frustrating. So I didn't really like that. I really didn't. Additionally, when you're shooting like that, it kind of brought something up. So you have these dials, which is nice for your ammo. Like, that's nice. But you have 4 actions in your turn, which means you can shoot 4 times. And so what you do is to say, all right, I'm going to shoot him. No damage. All right, I'm going to shoot him. Pushed him back. Okay, well, he's not dead yet. I'm going to shoot him. I did it, guys. It only took 3 shots, but I got him. That's not too bad, actually. I would take that. That's all right. I rolled better than him. I did in the game, too. Which is saying a lot, because I rolled terribly. The issue is this back and forth, right? So anytime I'm doing this in a game, instantly my brain takes note of it. Like, I literally got my phone out, and I don't normally take notes, but I'd already played the game. I normally play the game and then take notes, because nobody's taking notes to play in the game, right? But I've already played a session of the game, so I'm playing in my second session of the game, and often then I'll take out some notes sometimes of something, and I took out a note on that. I'm like, that's just getting annoying. I don't like the, adjust the dial to spin the token, and then, I'm not sure there's actually, I think the way to solve that is to have it where you're not attacking 4 times with your 4 actions in a row. Ideally, you attack, and that's just part of your actions. Honestly, if I played more, because again, this was kind of limited, I would stop doing that spin dial, and I would only do that afterwards. I would just do normal attacks, and then I would note to see, okay, I have 4 shots, I can at least, shoot 4. But it can get kind of confusing, because like with the auto fire ones or whatever, you can add more. In other words, I can spend 3 ammo with this one attack to roll all 3 and do a push and a damage. Oh my gosh, I'm proving my own point wrong. False. We still rolled 8 die and nothing happened. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so so now I need to know I did 3 there and then 1 there. So you kind of need to finish with, with it a little bit. Multiple attacks can get a little annoying when that happens. So, definitely, and again, anytime I'm doing this and I'm context switching like that, going back and forth, repeatedly, I take note of it. And I took note of it here too. Not the funnest part of the game. Okay, something cool. They have these missions that essentially, so in this demo, it was 2-player, right? So it wasn't like the whole 4-player thing. But that makes sense. So we were Chris and Jill, and we were just gonna go, have a grand old adventure with some zombies. But there's all these other characters too. So there's Barry Burton and Rebecca Chambers here, and Brad Vickers was not here. Well, we're on our way back, and oh my gosh, we hit a mission token. I already took it off. It is this token right here. Mission token. It was on here, right? So we're like, okay, mission token. What is that? And what it's saying is radio static. Suddenly we started hearing somebody talk on our radio, right? Now this is a little bit of a disconnect because it's like, okay, so I heard the radio, but somebody else is going to do the mission, but whatever. Okay. So obviously there's this guy out here, right? There's this, where'd he go? I had him, and now he's gone. Here he is, Brad. This Brad guy here. And so we start the mission. And the mission is, hey, get some clues. Get 4 clues. If you get it, Brad joins the reserve, right? Otherwise not. The reserve is everybody else still doing things while you're doing things. And they can actually die doing them. They can get hurt. And so you kind of have to figure out, okay, who's going to do what when it's this mission. But either way, Rebecca is off trying to find Brad here. Okay, that's the story. That's the narrative in your head, right? And then you start, flipping these over, looking at the symbols up here. There's 2 clues. That was a good one. Here's nothing. 2 more clues. 1. Okay, that would have been nicer. That's not what happened. As you see, she's almost dead. Because you can hit these red ones that actually add a wound to them. And so they can get hurt. And so that's kind of an interesting thing, right? It's a simple mechanic. It's very streamlined. This is the idea where I would like it. I still want it streamlined, but I would like more involved here. I love the idea of missions, and not even what's here is cool. I really liked the thematic storyline of it. I liked the fact that we actually added a character or removed a character for the whole campaign based on that. In other words, we either find him and save him, or he dies. Like, that's very cool, and I dig that. In fact, he's a reserve-only character and has different benefits for that, right? He has this eagle-eye view. If Brad completes a mission, draw a number of cards from the tension deck corresponding to the total number of revealed clues. Without resolving them, return each card to the top or bottom of the deck in any order of your choosing. Very, very helpful, so it's good to send him on that. I would like to see more of that. Specifically, so we were going to do the mission. We could pick either Barry Burton or Rebecca Chambers here. But it didn't actually really matter. The only one was like, okay, well, who do we want to maybe die? Like, if we don't abandon in time and push our luck too hard. And we chose Rebecca. Just because Jill can do a pretty okay healing as well. So I feel like we didn't really need Rebecca. But it would be nice if Rebecca, like if each mission had like this is a combat mission, this is a investigation mission, this is a category, and that different characters are better or worse at different categories. And it may just be where they start with like 1 clue, right? Extra or something like that. I'm not designing anything here. I'm just thinking out loud on stuff that I think would be kind of cool. I'm thinking kind of like the MMO stuff. Like I remember in Star Wars: The Old Republic, you had like your little guys and you could send them out on missions. I think Star Trek Online has this too. A lot of MMOs and RPGs have this. Or even like free-to-play mobile games, right? Where you're like, okay, I'm selecting these guys and they're going to go on the mission, but I'm selecting these guys because they're really good at this kind of mission, at getting resources or whatever it might be. That'd be something kind of neat. Or they have different benefits to it, like kind of like the skill, like, oh, well, if you do this and this happens. What I would also like to see is, instead of just kind of stopping and doing this mission, I would like it to where the mission starts, but then they're almost on this adventure with us. So every time at the end of my turn when I draw one of these, well, I also draw one of these, or better yet, it has a symbol on here instead that I do. So every time that's drawn, they're also doing something too. So that it's kind of like we're doing this and they're doing that, and at the end we'll meet. kind of thing, if that makes sense. I think having it happen throughout the game as opposed to just a really quick thing would be very cool. And it allows us to really focus on, like, especially when they're hurt like that, like, do we want to keep doing this? Do we not? I think it might be kind of interesting. So anyway, some ideas there. Either way, I'm counting this as a positive. Even if it stands just as it is now, I rather enjoyed it. And the fact that I want to see more of it, I think, is pretty telling. Okay, another positive. You guys know I always mention this in my reviews lately. Table space is fantastic, and it's quick and easy to set up. I'm doubling up on that positive, but it's a positive for both of them. Because really, all it means is I can get to the table quick. I kind of mentioned that earlier, that I can see this being kind of like a Zombicide, where, it may not be the best game ever. But gosh darn it, I had a lot of fun. I can put it on the table and start playing it right away. That is huge for a lot of people, especially people without a lot of space. So this is literally a 2-player setup, and I have everything here. What you're seeing is the entire map laid out. Both people with some items, with all these discard piles included, and the minis, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. And it goes quick. One of the things that's nice about the setup that's different than the other ones, is my understanding, is we started with just this here. Just these 2 tiles here, or 3 tiles here. And that was it. And then as you open doors, you flip over this exploration. This is what was so cool about the exploration cards. And then, oh man, now there's this whole area here. Oh, now there's this whole area here. And now there's this area here. So it's kind of like expanding, but that means that initial setup to get on the table, I needed 3 tiles. 3 tiles, and then a stack of tiles over here and some cards. And then you put the minis where it says the minis and the doors where the doors are, and you're good to go. You're starting out. Go for it. You're done. That's all you gotta do. Very quick setup. Very streamlined setup. Very small table space. Really impressive. You could play this on a coffee table at 2 players, I feel, like, easily. Like, this is really nice. Because it doesn't feel like a small game. It's not like a tiny epic game or something like that. This is a full board game, but just, it's not super inflated, which is a welcome change. Now, there is that one negative that I also always mention. Anytime there is a kind of expanding map that isn't on a defined board, for instance, Bard Sung has a specific box that you put tiles in, so you know exactly how big this map can get. It can only go this far left, it can go that far up, right? This kind of isn't the case. So I built this in the middle, but as you can see, the map ended up going all over this way. In other words, I didn't know what led here, and it could have spawned down that way, but it didn't. It just had one box, and everything else was below. But it didn't necessarily tell me to move it up some, and so I actually had to move this. I had it like spread out over here, so when I spawned this, I had to kind of like move this over a little bit. You kind of have to adjust some things sometimes. If you were on a very limited table space, you might even have to flip it if it gets extra long or something like that. This one's pretty square, and maybe they stay that way, I don't know. But anytime you have an expanding map like that, that can happen, and I find that's always a bummer. If nothing else, they could have told me, hey, set this up towards the top instead of the center or something like that. Just so I know, okay, it's probably going to expand back down there, or, I'm fine knowing that amount because it's just a practicality thing, especially if somebody has multiple items, like she can carry like 8. So when you have a whole bunch of items that, you have stuff organized in a certain way, you don't want to move them. So, there was that. Okay. All right. Last positive. This is a fun one. Let me see if I can find the card now that I shuffled it while I talk. So there was one tension card, and I actually experienced this in my first playthrough. And it's like the worst card for me ever. And it's really meta, and I love it. Very cool. Keep quiet. I'm going to read it to you, and maybe you can see why I thought this was fantastic. A horde of undead fiends prowl relentlessly nearby, hungry for flesh. Don't say a word lest they descend upon you. During the next turn, if any player speaks, the active character must immediately draw a tension card. Discard this card at the end of the next turn. This game got me to shut up. Not every game does that. No game does that. So I talked earlier about being stuck on a tile, like, oh, I'm scared to kind of move off this tile. And now I'm scared to even speak. And the fact that a board game based off Resident Evil got me afraid to move and speak. I mean, that's so obvious. Yes, that's Resident Evil. That's awesome that it made me not want to do that. But on top of that, it's fun because suddenly you're here with other people and you can't talk. Do you start motioning? Do you point and do you start texting, right? Are you going like super meta like that? Do you pass notes? Do you just go silently and hope everybody does what they're supposed to do? This is a completely co-op game. There's no hidden traitor crap in here. This is everybody trying to survive and be beneficial to each other without speaking suddenly. Or do you speak and just say, okay, this is really important. I'm going to kill that guy. And now we got to draw some. Very cool. Very awesome. I love that card. I love the meta-ness of it. I love that it doesn't break any fourth wall because really at that point, you're role-playing. At that point, I was Joe Valentine. He was Chris Redfield, right? Like you are your character at that point where it's like, okay, now there's all these bad guys around us and we can't talk. And so, it'd almost be great if I want another one in there that makes everybody whisper, right? Just so I can be like, hey, you gotta kill that. Like, I would love that. I love that. That's like borderline D&D crap. I loved it. I thought that was so cool. It's a dangerous thing to do, any kind of meta card like that, right? Because that's not necessarily the board game. No pieces were affected, right? There were no tokens laid down. There was nothing there. That affected me as the player. Forcing me to react physically outside the board game to stuff the board game was doing. Loved it. Best card in the deck. I thought that was so cool. Next to the jump scare one where I'd get the highest sword. Hope you wanted that liquor. Hope you wanted to, like any enemy you can think of, in this case it would be the hunter, right? Really cool. Really enjoyed that. Super cool card and I would love to see more. I already gave them that feedback, when I first saw it. And again, it's a fine line going meta like that, but I think that did it very well and really enhanced the gameplay. And so that's why I wanted to end on that one. So in summary, this is not the best game I have ever played. Now I know that sounds like a terrible thing to say in a positive review, but I don't view that as a bad thing. I don't think a game has to be the best thing ever. What it has to do is it has to be fun. It has to be entertaining. It has to be easy to play and easy to get to the table because a great game on my shelf does nothing for me. But a fun game on my table does. And that's Resident Evil. I had a lot of fun with it. And I can see me getting this to the table within minutes of somebody asking if they want to play. Sold. That's all I want. I just want a great time with my family and friends. And Resident Evil definitely gives that. And there's a lot of fun things and uniqueness to it. I don't have another game that's making me be quiet. And that's pretty rare. So, I love the IP, so I may be a little bit smitten about that. Sure, that's fine. But it plays nice. It's fun. I enjoyed myself. And, like I said, it sets up quick and I'd play it again. I'd play the same mission again. So take that as you will, I suppose. Anyway, guys, there is a link down below, obviously, to the Kickstarter or Pledge Manager if you're watching this later on, or I guess it doesn't make a lot of sense to you if you're watching this way later on, but hopefully I still helped you out. Guys, if I did help you out with this video, if you appreciated the effort I put into this, and if it helped you at all making a good decision for you, at least click that like button. I greatly appreciate it. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about it. And if you feel really, really good about it, there is a Patreon link. Even $1 a month does indeed help. Thank you so much. With that, have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you guys again really soon.